You ever notice how some folks hit 70 or 80 and seem more alive than ever? They don't just survive the years, they thrive in them. Meanwhile, others slow down, feeling like their best days are long behind them. What's the difference? It's not just luck, and it's not just good genes. It's about certain abilities, hard-earned wisdom, habits, and mindsets that make all the difference. See, thriving in old age isn't about trying to feel young again. That's a losing game. It's about stepping fully into the stage of life you're in, embracing the strengths that come with it, and making the most of every single day. If you're still breathing, you're still living. And if you're still living, you better believe there's a way to live well. One of the most remarkable abilities that keeps people thriving at 70 or 80 is the art of adaptation. Life never stays the same. People leave, your body changes, the world moves on whether you're ready or not. And the ones who struggle the most? They're the ones who hold on too tightly to the past, resisting every change like it's a personal attack. But those who thrive, those who wake up with energy and purpose every day, are the ones who've learned how to adjust without losing themselves. It's like an old tree. If a storm comes and the branches refuse to bend, they snap. But the tree that sways with the wind, that tree stands tall long after the storm has passed. At 70 or 80, you've been through a lifetime of storms. You know what loss feels like, what disappointment tastes like, what change looks like up close. The key is to keep flowing with it. The world today might look different than the one you grew up in. The music, the way people talk, the way things work, it might all feel unfamiliar. But you don't have to fight it. You can find ways to adapt while holding on to the core of who you are. Some people in their 70s are still learning new skills, picking up new hobbies, even making new friends. Others are stuck in memories of how things used to be, frustrated that nothing feels the same. Which one do you think is thriving? Adaptability isn't about forgetting the past. It's about making peace with it and moving forward with grace. And here's the thing. Nobody gets to their later years without scars. Another remarkable ability that keeps you strong at 70 or 80 is emotional resilience. Life hits hard, and by the time you've lived that long, you've had your fair share of heartbreaks, setbacks, and disappointments. But the people who still have light in their eyes, even after everything, are the ones who've learned to process pain without being consumed by it. Some people carry their pain like a backpack full of bricks. Everywhere they go, every conversation they have, that weight is sitting on their shoulders, and you can see it. It drags them down. But others, they've learned how to set the backpack down. Not because they've forgotten what they've been through, but because they've made peace with it. They don't let bitterness settle into their bones. They don't let regret take over their days. You see, emotional resilience isn't about ignoring your feelings. It's about facing them, understanding them, and then deciding to keep moving forward. It's about realizing that life doesn't owe you anything, but that doesn't mean you can't make the most of it. The happiest 70 or 80-year-olds aren't the ones who've had the easiest lives. They're the ones who've decided to focus on what's still good, what's still worth enjoying, what's still possible. And let me tell you something else. One of the most powerful abilities you can carry into your later years is curiosity. Sounds simple, right? But you'd be surprised how many people lose it as they age. They stop wondering about the world. They stop learning new things. They close themselves off to new experiences, thinking they already know all there is to know. But the ones who thrive? They're the ones who stay curious, who keep asking questions, who never let their minds go stale. I know folks in their 80s who are still reading, still traveling, still meeting new people, still exploring new ideas. They know that just because they've lived a long time doesn't mean they've seen it all. There's always something new to discover, and that sense of curiosity keeps them alive, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too. You ever notice how kids are always asking, why? They see the world with fresh eyes. Well, just because you're older doesn't mean you can't see things that way too. The day you stop being curious is the day you start growing old in the worst way. Because old age isn't just about wrinkles or gray hair, it's about whether you're still engaged with life. And if there's one thing that separates the people who thrive in their later years from the ones who just exist, it's this: they keep showing up. They don't disappear into the background. They don't let themselves fade away. They stay involved. They stay present. They stay connected. Now, there's something else that sets apart those who truly thrive in their 70s and 80s. The ability to let go of what doesn't serve them. You'd be amazed at how many people carry the weight of things they should have dropped years ago. Resentment, regret, grudges that have been sitting in their hearts for decades. They hold on like it's some kind of proof that the past mattered. But the ones who are truly alive, the ones who wake up with peace in their hearts, they've learned a powerful truth: not everything is worth carrying. See, when you're younger, you think time is endless. You think you have all the time in the world to be angry, to be bitter, to dwell on things that hurt you. But when you reach 70 or 80, you realize something. Time is the most valuable thing you have, and you don't want to waste another second of it on things that steal your peace. You ever met someone who can't let go of the past? Someone who keeps bringing up the same old hurts, the same old disappointments, like they happened yesterday? It's exhausting. And more than that, it keeps them stuck. But the ones who thrive, they're the ones who have learned to forgive, not because the other person necessarily deserves it, but because they themselves deserve peace. They're the ones who can look back at their mistakes, learn from them, and move forward instead of drowning in regret. Letting go isn't about pretending things didn't happen. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of them. You can't move forward if you're still chained to something behind you. And at this stage in life, moving forward, no matter how old you are, is the only way to truly live. Now, there's another ability that makes people shine in their later years, and it's something many folks don't think about until it's too late: the ability to maintain strong relationships. You see, as you get older, your circle gets smaller. Friends move away, some pass on. Family members get caught up in their own lives. And if you're not careful, you can find yourself isolated, even when there are people around. The ones who thrive? They're the ones who nurture their relationships like they matter, because they do. Think about it. What's the point of living to 80 if you have no one to share your days with, no one to laugh with, no one to sit with on a quiet afternoon? You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have good people in your life, it won't mean much. And the truth is, relationships take effort. They don't maintain themselves. The people who thrive in old age are the ones who don't let their pride get in the way of picking up the phone, of reaching out, of making the first move to reconnect. They don't sit around waiting for others to come to them. They go to the people they care about. And let me tell you something else. They don't waste their time on shallow relationships either. By the time you reach your 70s or 80s, you don't have patience for fake smiles, for people who don't really see you, for friendships that only exist on the surface. The ones who thrive, they invest in deep, meaningful connections. They surround themselves with people who bring them joy, who challenge them, who truly care. And here's the secret. It's never too late to build those kinds of connections. You can be 75 and still make new friends. You can be 80 and still strengthen the relationships that matter. But you have to be willing to put in the effort. Another thing that separates those who thrive from those who merely exist: a sense of purpose. Now, a lot of people think retirement means the end of purpose. They spend their whole lives working, raising families, staying busy, and then suddenly they're left with nothing but time. And if they don't have something to pour themselves into, something that makes them feel useful, they start to fade. But the ones who thrive, they don't see old age as an ending. They see it as a new chapter. They find ways to stay engaged, to contribute, to keep feeling like they have a role to play in the world. I've met folks in their 70s who've started writing books, picked up painting, joined community groups, mentored young people, even started businesses. They don't sit around waiting for life to entertain them. They go out and create something meaningful for themselves. And that's the key. Purpose doesn't have to be some grand achievement. It doesn't mean you have to change the world. It just means you have something that keeps you going, something that makes you feel alive. Maybe it's volunteering. Maybe it's gardening. Maybe it's spending time with your grandchildren, passing down the wisdom you've gathered over the years. Because at the end of the day, the people who thrive in old age aren't just passing the time. They're still living. They're still finding joy. They're still moving forward, even if it's at a slower pace. And let me tell you something. There is no magic formula to aging well. It's not about having perfect health, or being rich, or having a life that's been free of struggle. It's about how you choose to live each day you're given. The ones who thrive at 70 or 80, they adapt. They stay emotionally resilient. They stay curious. They let go of what doesn't serve them. They nurture relationships. They keep a sense of purpose. And most importantly, they don't stop showing up for their own lives. There's one thing I've seen time and time again in people who truly thrive in their 70s and 80s. It's something that can't be bought and it can't be faked. It's a deep, unshakable sense of gratitude. Now, a lot of people misunderstand gratitude. They think it's just about saying thank you or appreciating the good times. But real gratitude, the kind that changes the way you experience life, is about learning to find value in everything, even the hard moments, especially the hard moments. See, when you reach old age, you've seen your fair share of loss. You've lost friends. You've lost parts of your youth. Maybe you've lost people you loved more than anything. And it's easy to fall into the trap of focusing on what's missing, what's gone, what you don't have anymore. But the ones who thrive, they make a choice every single day to focus on what's still here. They wake up and think, I get another day. They take a deep breath and feel the air in their lungs and know that's a gift. They appreciate the warmth of the sun on their skin, the taste of their morning coffee, the sound of laughter, even if it's from a stranger across the street. They know that every little thing counts. And here's the thing, gratitude isn't just some feel-good idea. It literally changes your body, your brain, and your spirit. Science even backs it up. People who practice gratitude consistently have lower stress, better sleep, and even healthier hearts. But beyond the science, there's something deeper at play. Gratitude shifts your perspective. It takes you out of the past, out of regret, out of resentment, and puts you right here, in the moment, where life is actually happening. It makes you more present, more content, and more alive. And when you've got that kind of mindset, old age doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like a privilege. Now, along with gratitude, there's another ability that makes all the difference. Keeping your mind sharp. You've seen it before. Some people hit a certain age and their minds start to slow down, not just because of age, but because they stop using them. They stop learning new things, they stop engaging with the world, they let their thoughts grow stale, and once your mind starts to shut down, your body isn't far behind. But the ones who stay sharp at 70 or 80, they make it a priority to keep their minds active. They read, they write, they play chess, they do puzzles, they debate ideas, they ask questions, they challenge their own opinions instead of getting stuck in their ways. They keep learning, not because they have to, but because they know that curiosity is what keeps the brain young. I know an 82-year-old man who taught himself a new language just for the fun of it. Another who started learning how to play the piano in his 70s. Some might say, why bother at that age? But that's the whole point. Why not? The moment you decide there's nothing left to learn, nothing left to explore, nothing new to try, that's the moment you start fading away. Keeping your mind sharp isn't about avoiding aging. It's about embracing it in the best way possible. It's about giving yourself the chance to stay engaged with life, to stay aware, to stay capable. And when you do that, you don't just survive your later years, you truly live them. And let me tell you something else. The people who thrive in old age, they don't let fear control them. Now, fear is natural. It's part of being human. But the people who struggle the most, as they get older, they let fear shrink their world. They stop driving because they're afraid of the roads. They stop going out because they're afraid of falling. They stop trying new things because they're afraid of failing. And little by little, their world gets smaller and smaller until they're barely living at all. But the ones who thrive, they don't let fear run the show. They might be cautious, but they don't let caution turn into avoidance. They still go places. They still meet new people. They still try new things, even if it takes a little more effort. They refuse to let fear make their decisions for them. I knew an 84-year-old woman who decided to take her first ever plane ride because she'd always wanted to see a certain place. She was nervous, sure, but she did it anyway. And when she came back, she had this look in her eyes, like she had just proven to herself that she was still alive, still capable, still in charge of her own story. That's what thriving in old age looks like. It's not about pretending you're not getting older. It's about facing whatever comes with a strong heart, a sharp mind, and a spirit that refuses to shrink. So, if you're lucky enough to reach your 70s or 80s, remember this: you don't have to fade away. You don't have to stop living. You don't have to let fear or regret or age itself hold you back. Because at the end of the day, thriving isn't about how many years you've lived. It's about how fully you choose to live them. There's one last thing that separates those who thrive at 70 or 80 from those who simply exist. They embrace the fact that life is still happening. See, some people reach a certain age and start treating life like it's already over, like they're just waiting out the clock. They talk about the past like it was the only time that mattered. They act like there's nothing new to experience, nothing more to look forward to. And because they believe that, they make it true. But the ones who thrive, they understand something most people miss. As long as you're alive, life is still happening. Right now, this very moment, they don't sit on the sidelines, watching the world pass them by. They stay engaged. They stay open. They keep showing up for their own lives. Now, that doesn't mean they ignore the reality of aging. They know their bodies aren't what they used to be. They know time is moving forward and they aren't immune to it. But instead of fighting it, instead of resenting it, they work with it. They adjust, they adapt, and they make the most of every single day they have left. Think about it. You can be 75 and miserable, or you can be 75 and fulfilled. Either way, you're still 75. The number doesn't change. But how you live those years, that's up to you. And that's what it all comes down to, how you choose to live. You can choose to let your past weigh you down, or you can choose to let it shape you into someone wiser, someone freer. You can choose to isolate yourself, to close yourself off from the world, or you can choose to nurture your relationships, to stay connected, to keep love in your life. You can choose to believe that old age means fading away, or you can choose to keep learning, keep growing, keep experiencing new things. You can choose to let fear shrink your world, or you can choose to keep moving forward, even if it's a little slower than before. At the end of the day, thriving isn't about luck. It isn't about having an easy life. It's about making the choice every day to keep living fully, no matter your age. And here's the most important part. It's never too late to start. You could be 60, 70, even 80 years old and still decide to live with more joy, more curiosity, more gratitude than you ever have before. You can still choose to be engaged, to be present, to make these years some of the best you've ever had. Because that's the thing about time. You don't get to control how much of it you have left, but you do get to control how you use it. So, if you're lucky enough to still be here, to still wake up in the morning, to still have another chance, don't waste it. Don't sit around waiting for life to happen to you. Go out and live it. Because the ones who thrive at 70 or 80, they're not special. They're not different. They're just the ones who refuse to let life pass them by. And if they can do it, so can you.